Hey, Yetta, does our relationship vibrate at a frequency that's pleasant?
What you talking about?
I mean, like, do we connect often enough?
We do. I'm going to confess, we do.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
And so we're excited to welcome you to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Decker.
I'm Ken Decker.
And together we get to share techniques, thoughts, tips, tools, and some tactics that we all need. We all deserve. You, I, everyone. So we get to turn our house into home, our families thrive, and we live the best life possible. As we consider growing relationships, developing new friendships, frequency is one of those things that we're going to talk through. I was going to say walk through, but we're not getting up to walk anywhere. No. So we're going to talk through.
Yes. It would be awkward if we walked away from the microphone.
It would be awful. So frequency.
Yes.
Frequency, how often we're connecting with somebody.
Yeah. And whether it's you want to grow your relationship or you want to grow a new relationship, like meet somebody new, frequency is one of the 3 keys to building or growing a relationship.
Right. And so setting a regular time every week for me with, say, my friend Virginia, knowing that we're going to connect at least once a week is now a frequency that develops the relationship. Now, at the beginning, it's interesting. At the beginning, it would have been once we sort of realized we really like each other and we want to become better friends, it was much more frequent than that.
Was it?
So there's a difference in maintaining in terms of frequency as there is developing or growing. So it was more like every couple of days. If we hadn't connected somehow, it was maybe not a long conversation. And if we hadn't connected in some way, there wasn't enough frequency to actually develop or grow.
You know what I just realized, Jetta?
What?
That the reason we're together is we sat in math class every day in 1980. Was it 1980?
79 and 80.
Yeah. We sat in math class together every day. So the frequency of connection happened. And then after our first encounter, what did I do? I showed up in the library every morning and sat at your table with your friends. Even though I could walk and I could get to school on time, even if I heard the bell ring, I could get there before the second bell. And so that created frequency. Right.
And when we are talking about this, we're thinking about family as much as we are friends. Like even your family. And I know Ken has a sister and a brother that he adores. They get along great. I have an awesome sister. Whenever I connect with her, it's like no time has passed. And yet the friendship of all 3 of our siblings isn't continuing to grow or develop beyond where it is because our connections are infrequent.
It's not close.
Right. It's not super.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them as such. There's no dysfunction. There's no discord or fighting between us. We're just not close because we don't see each other frequently enough. They live in different towns. My brother, a different province. So I don't get to see him often enough.
Right. So as you're thinking about your relationships and your friendships, recognize that when we talk about frequency, it's one of the 3 keys or one of the 3 tools to use if you want to develop or grow the relationship beyond where it is. Like continue on the growth journey per se with that relationship.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like I read this book. It was written by an FBI spy.
Right.
And it's kind of an interesting book, and I don't actually remember the title at the moment or the author, but I remember the content, and that's what's important, really, I think.
Except then people can't go read it. So if you email us and say, Ken, give me the name of that book, he will have it figured out, and we'll even, you know what we'll do? We'll do a post when we're for the show, and we'll put in the content what the actual title of the book is. There's more than one way to share the information.
I guess we could. But you know what happens? Like even our book that we have coming out very soon, and if you'd like advance notice of availability of it so that you can get one of the first copies, then you'll want to send us an email at together at deckerteam.com. And we are bringing out Life X. And you don't have to remember the title. You don't even have to remember that Yetta and I wrote it. But if the content changes your life, then that's what the book was written for, right?
Yeah.
So this book kind of changed my life a little bit. It was about a spy and how they turn spies. And one of his nephews actually said, I'm moving to a new town. What do I need to do to meet people?
Right. And his first comment, he said, was be intriguing.
Be intriguing.
Be intriguing and
frequent the same place frequently and at the same time. So that because people tend to be habitual. So you remember the show Cheers?
Yes. Oh, I so
Everybody
remember
wants
that.
to know your name, and that's why they go to the bar and they're all talking. Well, he went to a bar and he sat down at the bar and talked with the bartender, because the bartender's always connects with you, right? Because they're serving you. And he would bring with him, and I don't remember what it was, but he was like a collector. So he worked on, let's say it's stamp collection. He would bring his stamp collection with him all the time because that was intriguing. That was something very different. And he'd show up the same time. And very soon, the bartender, let's call him Bill started introducing him to other patrons, because when he would leave, other patrons that knew Bill would come and go, what's with this guy? And he'd go, oh, he's a really nice guy. You should get to know him. And so he built his relationships super fast.
Because and there's another piece of that we don't, he utilized the connection between one person to develop future or additional relationships.
Yeah, because
he got really close to Bill.
Yeah, they were he was the common denominator basically with the connections. And even if people didn't come in regularly at the same time and they came in and they talked to the bartender would introduce them.
Right.
Because
so cool, right?
It's really cool.
And so thinking about your friendships that you currently have, whether they be family or whether they be people you've just met or people you've known for a long time, if you want to step it up, if you want to develop further, grow it more, think about frequency. How often, if you're talking to them once a month, chances are it's not expanding, right? Whereas if you make it more frequent, you will grow it.
Right. And if you rely on spontaneity, it's going to be more difficult, right? Yeah. Especially if you don't program spontaneity into your schedule.
Right.
What do I mean by that?
Well, what you mean by that is spontaneity is a conditioned reflex. And so what that means to me is when I didn't have much margin, I didn't have room for spontaneity. When I built more flexibility and margin and space into my calendar, there was more time for spontaneity. But if I've had frequency with somebody, chances are I'm going to want to see them even more. So when I have the margin, then I can be spontaneous. And now I have greater frequency, not just the regimented frequency.
Right. And you know what's cool about spontaneity?
What?
Because what happens is when I book that time and then I go, okay, who we're going to have over? We start calling people. And even if they're not available, they feel that they were thought of. And the people that do come over, we connect deeply. So it's not about having time. It's about making the time. We're grateful to be your partners on this journey moving forward towards wealth, wisdom, and worth.
Moving forward with the Decker team.